Hi, I'm Jason Eisen from the US. I've been in Kenya almost 7 years, running first Maramoja Transport, and for the last few years building Utu Technologies. I've been working in tech since 2013 when I first came to Kenya to start Maramoja. At the time, it was the first taxi app anywhere in Africa. Utu actually grew out of Maramoja. Essentially, in the process of building Maramoja, when we came, we originally were just thinking to build something like Uber for Africa, and we realized after maybe a few months that we were solving the wrong problem, essentially, that Uber was solving a different problem than the problem we were actually seeing on the ground here. Uber was solving the problem, how do I get a taxi? And everybody here was saying, I don't have the problem, how do I get a taxi? I have the problem, how do I get a taxi that I trust, that I feel comfortable with? And so we ended up redesigning the taxi app actually from the ground up for a place like Nairobi, built around trust, social trust, interpersonal trust, not institutional trust. And that was the foundations of Utu. There's definitely adoption of some advanced technologies. There's a lot of interest in advanced technologies like AI, like distributed systems. Oftentimes they're technologies in search of use cases. There are tons of exciting use cases that can benefit tremendously across a range of sectors from implementing these technologies. But I think it requires two things, essentially. It requires a deep knowledge of the problem space, and it requires the knowledge of the technologies and how to develop them accordingly to that problem space. I think there's a transition to younger generations of leadership at the helm of bigger companies that are adopting these things more, that are more digitally native and fluent. For Utu, I can say we have huge adoption. We have a pipeline that far exceeds our capacity to even serve. So we've had to put quite a few companies on a waiting list from around Africa, from US, from Europe, from Asia, quite globally, in fact. And I think this is one of the cool advantages of doing a business like this, an AI infrastructure service that's distributed digitally. We can be a Kenyan startup serving companies all over the world. We don't have to just be a Kenya startup. We can be a global startup that happens to be based in Kenya. We build trust models. So we try to sell trust infrastructure as a service. And trust infrastructure, essentially, if you think about trust as the corollary to risk. The more risk I feel in a transaction, the more I want trust. So let's think about what are the things that we hold the most dear, that we feel the most risk around? Our home, our health, our family, our business, and our assets. So if any transaction is exposing any one of these five things, so platforms for home services, whether caretakers or housekeepers, for family services, babysitters, maybe elder care, money lending platforms, both centralized lending and decentralized lending that can benefit from a lot more data points being considered in the transaction and exogenous factors being made endogenous and brought into the model rather than acting on it from the outside. Trust is the grease that makes a transaction happen, that makes it a better transaction, better satisfaction, higher conversion rates. And in almost every context, you can use AI like what Utu has built and is building to improve those metrics. Some of the challenges of building an AI company is always the scale of data that you need to really build effective models. And there's a couple ways that we've taken this on. One is by building our own use case that used our service. And we were selling that, and we still are selling that use case. And at the same time, it's training our AI models. And so you can hack that data acquisition problem by building your first use case of your model, of your system, and bringing it to market at the same time. It's challenging, but it's one way to hack it. You can obviously go get public data sets. There's no protective moat around this. They can't defend that, so there's not really a proprietary advantage. There's other problems around data privacy and how do you manage these things. Those are all manageable. So the partnership with TechnoBrain actually came about through a real use case that we had. One of our partners is a peer-to-peer lending platform. It's going to be working with millions of farmers across East Africa and other parts of the continent. And they need to be able to digitize the lending histories of millions of farmers that are currently kept in physical ledgers by SACCOs and things of that sort. And that process requires the combination of robotic process automation, OCR, optical character recognition, as well as some advanced machine learning models to specific to that domain of SACOs and lending, and maybe some of the terminology that might be used in these places. So we originally approached TechnoBrain to work on that partnership, and realized we had a lot in common, and actually our trust infrastructure was going to be pretty valuable to a lot of the clients they're already serving and some of the products that they want to bring to market. And so we realized there was a lot of value to be gained, them supporting us in their areas of expertise, robotic process automation, AI. They also have huge credibility in the market. They've been around a long time. They're serving many clients of great repute across the continent, I think more than 17 countries. This was a really easy decision for us. They've been a great partner already. If you're trying to build a machine learning company on the continent, focus on a problem that you know really well. If you have that technology skill set, and apply it in solving a problem that you already have felt yourself, or that people very close to you have felt. It's that deep knowledge of what's actually driving the challenge and what's driving success, in contrary to that challenge, that is going to be determining the outcomes. And likely, if you felt that problem in a significant way, there's a lot of other people like you that have felt it. So you know you have some validation that there's probably a lot of people that have this. That's one area I could say, and then just keep at it. It takes a lot longer to build a company, especially an AI company, than you might think going into it. And so maybe go in with your eyes open and be prepared to be in for a long journey.